The medieval era lasted from approximately 500 AD to 1500 AD, and it is perhaps one of the most tumultuous, dangerous, and fascinating times in history, and it is one that viewers cannot seem to get enough of on the big screen, as the medieval era has been a regular historic backdrop for a plethora of films since the start of cinema. This list will give my top 10 recommendations of films based during the medieval times, so you can spend less time looking for a film to watch and more time actually enjoying one. And at number 10, it is Ironclad, a historical film based around the siege of Rochester Castle by King John, the same King John that can be found in Disney's Robin Hood movies. This is a film which is based around the true events regarding the siege of Rochester Castle, in which a small group of rebels and noblemen during the First Barons' War tried to hold Rochester Castle against King John and his forces, after he has revoked on the promises he agreed to during the signing of the Magna Carta. This film follows a generic B-grade formula in which a romance is rushed and just added in because every story needs a celibate Templar to fall in love with the noblewoman, and character development is usually just done by two characters communicating through a few lines of dialogue every now and then, so it is not really a priority in this film. But what the film does get right is its battle scenes and siege tactics, which shows how difficult it is for a small force to protect a fortress from invaders. The general plot and storyline is interesting enough that the viewer will feel compelled to watch the movie to the very end. This is not the best medieval film ever created, but it is a great recommendation for someone looking for an easy to watch and a story with a simplified plot. At number 9, it is Black Death, a film that does a good job of mixing two different genres, horror and history, together. And with the focus being on the breakout of the bubonic plague, it is a historical topic which can indeed be utilized effectively in a horror and supernatural genre. Black Death does a fascinating job of displaying how the superstitions and customs in medieval England during this time would have caused mass paranoia as the disease continued to spread across the land. This film has an interesting but not very original plot, and Sean Bean and Eddie Redmayne do a great job of carrying the film, which needed their strong acting to cover the various plot holes and the various missteps throughout the film. The Black Death is a great film to watch on a free evening, as it does a fantastic job of blending horror and supernatural elements within an interesting historical context. And even though it may not be a revolutionary or original film, it is still a highly enjoyable medieval movie to watch. At number 8, we have the Netflix original film The King, which focuses on the life of King Henry V, who was a king of England during the early 1400s, and he is widely renowned throughout history for his small contingency of English archers and knights and their victory over a much larger and better equipped French army. This film follows the life of Henry Monmouth from shortly before he becomes king to a few weeks after his victory in France on the fields of Agincourt, and it does a great job of bringing this king's unique story to life. Like most productions by Netflix, this is a high budget, high quality film with fantastic acting by the entire cast, most notable being the quirky performance by Robert Pattinson, which you will either love or hate. My primary gripe with this film though is the level of historical inaccuracies throughout the entire movie, which is used to make Henry look like a reluctant peace-loving king who hated the idea of war, when the reality is so different, and Henry was a king who loved war from his first day on the throne. But if you can ignore some of the historical shortcomings of the film, then you'll find a movie that has great acting, an interesting storyline, and some fantastic large-scale battles as well, which really does bring the bloody reality of medieval warfare to life. At number 7, it is Saladin the Victorious, a classic historical Egyptian war film from 1963, which focuses on the legendary Muslim general and conqueror Saladin. This film focuses on the Third Crusade, in which Saladin has already conquered Jerusalem and the Christian armies are joining together to reclaim the Holy Land. I will start off by saying that this is a hugely biased film and is really a one-sided film which does its best to make the Muslims look like the good guys and the Europeans seem like the evil villains in the movie, and it is a main factor which really keeps this movie from rating higher on this list, because the acting, storyline and battle scenes are really great in this film. It's just far too patriotic in a lot of areas though, which does hinder its rating in this list. But if we disregard the bias and historical inaccuracies, Saladin is a movie which is a tribute to what most would call the golden age of cinema, in which strong acting and storylines were the forces which carried a film. And if someone has 3 hours to spare on an evening, then Saladin is definitely a historical adventure for you to consider. At number 6, it is The Physician, a historical drama film based on the novel of the same name by Noah Gordon. This film's central plot focuses on an orphaned boy named Rob and his determination to study medicine and prevent others from dying of easily treatable diseases in 10th century England, and this search for medical answers eventually leads him to Persia. This movie is unique as it brings to life a topic very rarely discussed in movies or TV shows, and that is the way medical treatments and surgeries were performed during the medieval times. We often get a small scene of a soldier getting a limb amputated or some rudimentary medical practices being performed on a king or nobleman, but I have never seen a movie delve so deep into the subject as The Physician. The differences between English and Persian society during this time, as one was a very superstitious culture with poor medical knowledge, while the other society was enjoying an age of great learning and advancement. So if you're looking for a movie that is well acted, perfectly paced, and brings a unique spin to historical dramas, then The Physician is my recommendation for you. At number 5, it is El Cid, the 1961 classic epic historical film, which gives a largely fictionalized depiction of the Castilian warlord Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar. The film starts off with Rodrigo, already a powerful member of the Spanish nobility during this time, and it depicts the various interactions he has with neighboring and foreign Muslims, as well as the political intrigues he has to deal with in Spanish court. El Cid is a classic film which gets a lot of things right, especially in terms of developing the storyline and throwing in plot twists. The acting is great and the characters are believable and relatable as well. What is not so amazing about the film is the runtime, and with the short attention span of many people today, this might seem like a never-ending film for them, as there is no action scenes or high-budget CGI. This is just a purely entertaining historical drama which will be the perfect choice for any dedicated historical lover, but not the best choice for casual viewers, I would say. At number 4, we have Kingdom of Heaven, which follows a semi-fictionalized portrayal of the life of Balian of Ibelin, who was a crusader noble and the primary leader for the defense of the Christian-held Jerusalem during the siege of Jerusalem in 1187 against Saladin and his Muslim forces. This film has some A-list actors in it such as Orlando Bloom, Liam Neeson, Jeremy Irons, and Eva Green, so the acting is top tier and the battle scenes are also amazing. It does stumble at some points with an awkward and slow start to the film, but this story about the defense of Jerusalem by a small Christian force against a massive Muslim army led by military genius Saladin is a fantastic story to tell for any lover of medieval movies in general. At number 3, it is Braveheart, a movie which reintroduced men in kilts as a cool thing to audiences, and is probably a film that is loved by all viewers whether they are fans of historical movies or not. Braveheart follows the life of William Wallace during the events of the First War of Scottish Independence, and how William Wallace grew to become a legendary figure during this time. Braveheart has amazing acting and Mel Gibson does a fantastic job of portraying the primary character. The storyline is also engaging and it is interesting and easy to follow from the get-go. As has already been widely discussed in many forums, reviews, and articles on the internet, Braveheart is infamous for its historical inaccuracies, even by Hollywood standards. But I feel like this has somehow helped Braveheart maintain its popularity even to this day. Braveheart is definitely a must-watch film for any fan of medieval movies, as this story about Scottish independence is a truly magnificent watch, which has great cinematography, set pieces, and battle scenes to really bring this time of history to life. At number 2, we have Arn the Knight Templar, which is a fictional story based around a Knights Templar, if you couldn't decipher the clues in the movie's title. This is actually a 2-part film series which is based off the best-selling Crusades book series by Han Julio, which sees a fictional character named Arn who becomes a Knights Templar and is a witness or a catalyst to many real historical events such as the Battle of Montgazert and the Battle of Hattin. One thing I really loved about this film was the range of different languages spoken by the Knights, which would have been accurate of the time as Knights came from several diverse countries and backgrounds and would speak a range of languages in the ranks. Arn the Knight Templar is also the most expensive film ever created in the history of Swedish cinema, and it is a fantastic feat of storytelling, cinematography, and bringing a semi-accurate historical depiction of the Knights Templars to our screens, and this is definitely a strong recommendation for me for any lover of medieval movies. And number 1 is the Netflix original film The Outlaw King, which depicts the struggle and sacrifices Robert the Bruce had to endure to win back the Scottish crown from England. This film focuses on the outlaw period of Robert the Bruce's life from 1304 to 1307 when he was rebelling against the English forces in Scotland, who far outnumbered his own small tribe of supporters. This resulted in Robert launching a guerrilla war for most of this 3-year duration. What I really enjoyed about The Outlaw King is that I was aware of the general outline of Robert the Bruce's trajectory to become King of Scotland, but I didn't realize till after watching this film just how much sacrifice and loss Robert had to endure before he was able to get even one victory over the English, and it's due to this emotional bond that this film is able to develop between the characters and viewers that I rate this film so highly. I also appreciate how the producer was able to highlight to audiences just how difficult it is for a small-scale rebellion to grow into a revolution, which will change the entire historical outlook of a country. The Outlaw King is historically accurate, perfectly acted, and has an engaging and heartbreaking storyline, making it a thrilling movie to watch for any fan of medieval films and historical films as well. So lastly, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do like, share, and leave a comment down below. And if you haven't, please do subscribe to this channel as I post videos about historical movies and TV shows on a regular basis. Thank you so much for watching.